Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tim, and I am going to cover stop losses today. I keep getting questions about, Tim, where do I set a stop loss? And I always get that question. And I don't have a set rule. People always ask me, what percentage do you set your stop loss at? That's not how I look at things. I always am fluid with my stop losses. I will walk them up with the candles here and I will show you exactly how I do that. It's not really a science. I mean, there is some thought to this, and I want you guys to see that. But whatever helps you sleep at night is the best stop loss. If you're losing sleep over your position, that's not what investing is about. Investing is about being comfortable in your positions and making money and being happy. That's what it's supposed to increase the value of your life, not decrease it. If you're pulling your hair out over your investment, you're doing it wrong. Okay. So let's go ahead and identify the trend. We did a video on this recently, but it'll help when any sort of repetitive motions like we've been seeing along this line is helpful, especially when you're setting stop losses and stuff like that. In a stop loss, uh, when I set a stop loss, I'm always looking for support and resistance that is nearby. And the reason why I do that is because that's where I believe most of the action happens. Now, let's go ahead and you can see that's an obvious trend. I mean, we could say there's one touch here, two, three, but there's multiple touches down here. So we're not going to talk about trends too much today, but I just wanted you guys to see what I was getting at. Okay, so we have this trend, and I think there's some support here, and I also see support at this level. And the reason why I'm doing this is this will help us set our stop loss, guys. This is how I set a stop loss. I look for support and resistance, and I work with that. Now, which support will I pick though? That's the question here. Is I see I mean sometimes the clicks don't work. I'm gonna draw another line right here. I think there's some support at this level too, but it's just not as strong as some of the other levels. Like this level, we have one rejection here, and then we even have a few candles that were rejected before we finally broke through. So this is where I'm looking for some support on the way down. I know that's a little bit farther than a lot of people want to set their stop losses, but that's why I drew these. If you want to set your stop loss just below that, you have a much bigger chance of getting stopped out. You see this, these wicks have all gone below that. Those were times that people were using this support to set their stop loss. Like, let's say they set it right here. They got tripped out over here. That's where you got to play the game, guys. You'll learn over time where should you set your stop loss to avoid getting stopped out. You won't ever be 100%, guys. Believe me, I've been stopped out numerous times. But getting stopped out is like striking out at baseball. Even the best do it. Babe Ruth did it. Mark McGwire did it. Barry Bonds. They all struck out, but they got another chance at bat and they hit a home run. That's the way I feel about stop losses and getting those tripped. If your stop loss trips, don't worry about it. That's a part of the game. It's gonna happen, guys. And as you can see, even though I said support is here, there's a couple of wicks right there that would have stopped you out if you would have had a stop loss set below this support. That's something that you will learn over time to work with, guys. I mean, a market's never going to work with you 100%. You're going to have to be fluid. I don't mean walk your stop loss down. That's against the law in my book. I don't like walking my stop loss back down. So, like, if I set my stop loss here and it trips, it's it. I'm out. I'm not going to move it down here just to stay in the trade, because if we're on a downtrend, move my stop loss down is just going to make me keep losing more profit. And I used to do that when I was new. I was like, man, I think that we're going to go up, even if we do drop. I think that this support will hold. And so I'm going to move my stop loss down here. And what happens is that support fails. This support fails. And you end up moving your stop loss, keep moving it down to avoid getting stopped out. And when you're actually just prolonging your suffering and you're actually losing more money because of that. It took me a long time to realize that moving my stop loss down is not a good idea. But Whenever I did realize that, I made it a part of my repertoire. I am not going to move my stop loss down ever again. I'm only moving it up. That makes sure you lock in profit as you go. So, once we broke this and we made it above this, I might move my stop loss to above this support. I mean, below this support. Let's say right about, and somewhere in this area where you feel safe. If we lose this support on the way up and we bounce off of that, your stop loss won't get tripped. But if we lose this support right here, I have a feeling we're going to drop to maybe this level down here. And that's unacceptable for me. I want to keep my profit. So that's why I set my stop loss here. Even if we were to bounce off this and hit the moon, I can always rebuy down here. You know what I mean? Or even up here. As long as I rebuy before we hit back where my stop loss was, I should be in profit, guys. That's why I use the tether system is I will on the way up, let's say we get here and I'm like, okay, we're going down. I'll park my Bitcoin in Tether or I set my stop loss here and it will go to Tether after it trips. Either way, I'm moving my money to Tether for the drop. That is a easy way to trade, guys. That's how I trade. It's low risk. And if you go to Tether, you're basically putting the market on pause while Bitcoin drops. So, like, let's say you buy Bitcoin at 40, or no, you buy Bitcoin at 20K. Okay, let's just make it easy. It goes up to 40K. You sell. So you've made $20,000 in profit right there, right? Well, you wait for Bitcoin to go back down again to 20K and you buy again. But now you have 40,000 versus the 20,000 you originally started with. So now what do you have? You have two Bitcoin instead of one Bitcoin. That is the ultimate goal to me in trading is accumulating more Bitcoin. And the way you can do that with some risk management involved is learning how to set a stop loss correctly. Find your support and resistance. Use it to your advantage. That's why when Todd Blackburn made a video about support and resistance, he called it the most important thing a trader can learn. And that's absolutely 100% true. It's the most important thing you can know on a chart is support and resistance. If you know that, you don't even need any of these. I mean, they're helpful. Don't get me wrong. The 50 MA, I love the 50 MA. But if you could just use support and resistance on the chart, I'm convinced you can make good money just by using support and resistance. You don't necessarily need all these indicators. A lot of people sit there and tell me those indicators are worthless. I disagree. I think those indicators are worth something. But in the meantime, learning support and resistance is very important, guys, and that's why learning where to set your stop loss depends on that. All kinds of factors play into learning where support and resistance is, and just because support and resistance seems like these flat lines, this is also a support. It's trend support, trend resistance. I don't know if that's actually a technical words for them. I'm not really a good at with all the technical words for all of the trading lingo. I'm still actually learning. I've been doing this for years and I still don't know all this stuff. But like I said, you can see we're clearly finding support on this ascending trend, which is another factor to play. If we lose this, this line is the first line of defense. But if we lose that, this is probably the second area where I would look for support. And it doesn't guarantee that's going to be where it is. But if I were to set a stop loss, I would probably set it below this one. Because if we lose this, or we've already seen a couple of wicks go below that, and it wouldn't surprise me to see a third one. And this trend looks like it's almost done with. I mean, I may be wrong. We have 2.5 more hours to bounce up. But if we don't bounce up, we're about to exit this trend, which means this is our next line of defense, 40,000 really. And then down here at about 37.6. So I would probably set my stop loss somewhere around here just in case. I mean, I know I could get wicked out or whatever, but I'll just I'd rather have the peace of mind. You know what I mean? And setting a stop loss is not scientific in my book. I just set it where I feel comfortable, guys. And you guys always ask me, Tim, where do you set your stop loss? What percentage? That's nothing to do with it. I never use percentages. I always use support and resistance. And that's what I suggest you do. Using a percentage, let's say you want to use 3%. That may put you right here. You know what I mean? And you're still in jeopardy of getting wicked out. I don't ever use percentages because you could see a candle like this or candles like this. You know what I mean? This market requires you to be, I don't know the word for it, but it requires you to be, you know what I mean? To move along with it, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think of the best word. But if you're not capable of being molded with the market, then you're going to fail because you're not going to be able to set your stop losses right. You want to be consistent with your stop losses, I understand, but setting it by percentage is not always a smart thing because you can see the pumps are not all pumps are created equal. I mean, look, there's a pump right here, but it was much smaller than this pump, which means you may want to set your stop loss different at different times. Look, I mean, there's a lot of consolidation here. So setting your stop loss here might be a little bit simpler than setting it on an uptrend. But setting it on an uptrend, you're basically just locking in your profits as you go. So I buy down here. We break up above this first resistance. I know that's resistance because we resisted right here. So once we break above that, I may move my stop loss, somewhere around here, and then we keep going up. We bust up. But we show signs of resistance in this level. If you go to the hourly time frame, let's go ahead and do that. I'll show you. It's a little easier to see. All right, so you see that? I mean, that's the hourly time frame, really. And you see, there's a few instances where we bounced off of the support here. Few instances, a couple of candles did it here. I mean, we did bounce below it a few times with the hourly, and you only see wicks on the 4 hour, but on the hourly it's more defined. But a quick drop like this and a quick recovery shows you that the bears weren't ready, or I mean the bulls weren't ready to drop to those levels. And support held. Look, this is a support trend support. There's always another support somewhere that you need to look for. You always got to pay attention to everything. Even though we lost this, people were probably panic selling, thinking, "Oh, we lost support." But then the trend support held, and we bounced back up and created a new AT8 all-time high, guys. And like I said, there's not really a science to setting a stop loss. You just need to use your brain and find support and resistance. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. I may not be covering everything you guys are asking me about, but this should cover the majority of everybody asking me, hey, where do you set a stop loss? How do you set a stop loss? That's how I do it, is I'll walk up the chart, and on the way up, I'll lock in the stop losses as I go. And anyways, I'll come back on later. Hey, hold on.